Hello everybody and welcome back to Basics. I'm your host, the Crazy Uncle. Today we're going to be talking about cold weather survival hacks. Although this first section, even though it's going to be in 4 parts at least, has to do with everybody. Alright, if you plan on going up north to visit family, if you're going to go skiing or snowboarding, snowmobiling, anything to do in cold weather, as long as you follow this, you're going to be fine. Alright. Now, I'm not going to go into super detail about what type of insulation, things you want. Channels that do that, go watch them. This is just back to basics. So, as you can see, I've written down the acronym COLD here. Each of them actually stands for something. If you follow this, you'll be good. The first one, C, is you got to keep clean. Reason being is that your body needs to do something called thermal regulate. If you can keep your body to the point where it can thermoregulate itself, you're going to be good. It can't do that if the pores are all plugged up. It can't do that if you're just all nasty and shit. Alright? Now, one of the big things you got to remember is parts of your body actually sweat normally that you don't realize sweat. Your feet sweat a lot. Your head sweats a lot. Your hands, they sweat a lot. Alright? And we'll go into that in another section on how to deal with that. But as long as you keep clean, your body can adjust itself so that as we go down here, you won't have to worry about changing around so much. So keep your body clean. Now, excuse me, for those that have actually been out in the wilderness, you can find out that this can be a little bit hard to do. Look, just bring some wipes, some alcohol wipes. Now, because it's in the wintertime, you don't really have to worry about scented because that attracts bugs. But regardless, you hit the hot spots. Face, neck, armpits, groin, and feet. If you can handle those, not in that order, then you should be all good. Alright, you might take 2 to do it. And yes, those same hot spots are universal for everybody. So male and female can go through that one. As long as you do that, it's going to be very easy for your body to thermoregulate. Also with thermoregulate is you have to hydrate, okay? You have to hydrate. Your cells, even though it's cold, you're not going to realize this, but you're going to be blowing through a lot of water. In actuality, even though you don't have the sensation that you need to drink, you are going to dehydrate actually faster a lot of times in cold environments if you're not dressed correctly. Reason being is either you're going to get too hot or too cold, and your body needs to blow through water to thermoregulate. Now, the next one I kind of touched on already, and that's overheating. The reason you don't want to overheat should be self-explanatory. You're going to start sweating. Your body will naturally start sweating immediately to try and cool itself off. Which is why a lot of people who spend some time up north, they'll be like, yeah, I can feel my pits are all sweaty, but my hands are freezing. That's because you're overheating. Alright, your body's actually trying to slow down heat production at that point. So it's actually not sending as much to your extremities. But also, if you overheat, you're going to sweat, okay? You don't want this, okay? If any of you have watched any of Survivor Man, he says you sweat, you die. This is what he's talking about, cold weather survival. Okay, he's not really worried about hot weather survival, but cold weather survival. If you overheat, you're going to sweat, everything's going to get wet, and moisture, even a little bit, can take anywhere from 30 to 65% of heat away from your body. Let me phrase that right. 30 to 65% of your heat retaining capacity is going to be gone. It's just going to pull itself away. Now, down here with L, you want to be in layers, okay? Layers, but not just layers. You want to be in loose layers. This is important. Loose layers. Alright? Make all the jokes you want in the comments about me using the word loose. Now, loose layers. Very, very important. Reason being is I'm going to illustrate for you is that say you have one layer and this side is 90 degrees and this side is 50 degrees. Okay, we're going by Fahrenheit here. As you can see, it's hard for me to write sideways. But what's going to happen is this fabric is going to basically split the difference. So your body is going to feel 70. All right? Which is why usually with a decent layer, if you're, a warm person and it's 50 degrees outside, you're going to be comfortable. Especially if you're moving, because then you're going to build heat. But the kicker is, if you start putting layers on, this division of heat and heat loss is going to break apart. That 70 mark should be somewhere in the middle. Okay, and here would be what? 60-ish. And then 80. Alright, so if you're a warm person, if you have 3 layers on, you're feeling 80 degrees against your skin. You're not cold, even if you're static, which is holding still. So that's what the layers are. But there's a key element here with the loose layers. Alright? In between each of these layers, if there's a layer of air, what that's doing is, depending on how deep it is and whether or not there's any airflow, and a whole myriad of other factors I'm not going to get into, most of which are inconsequential, by the way, beyond the ones I mentioned, that's going to act like another second or third or fourth layer in between. This is why goose down jackets feel so unbelievably warm. All right, so keep that in mind. This last one is going to be dry. Okay, I already kind of touched on that with the overheating, but if you're wet, you're going to lose your heat very, very, very quickly. I'm sorry, if you're wet, you're going to lose heat very, very quickly. Sorry, I just had dinner. Now, keep yourself dry, and I'm going to give you a quick example why this is so important. When they first tried to go to the North Pole, they didn't understand why all the heavy wool clothes they were wearing was not keeping them as warm as they wanted. Now, granted, they were mixing cotton with the wool, and by the way, cotton, once it gets wet, does not hold heat at all. If anything, it's going to pull heat away from you. Wool, however, will hold up to 70% of its heat retention capacity even when it's soaked. So keep that in mind, especially if you're shopping for a hunter. Wool socks, people. And also a wool scarf will help a lot. But what happened was when they tried again, they talked with the local personnel up there, which I believe were called Inuit, but don't quote me on that. And they had a way of butchering the seal where they would still have the actual skin, the hide. And they would take the oil that they got from the whales that they hunted, and they would put the oil inside, and that's how they carried it around. After about a year, that would be so saturated with oil, all they had to do was flip it up inside out and carve it into boots, and there was a waterproof boot, what they call mucklucks. Freaking awesome stuff. And they were actually able to realize how important staying dry truly, truly was, especially if you're going to be up where it's really, really cold. Now, this right here, obviously, should be something that you look at and go, well, duh, everybody knows that. You would be surprised. Most of you are like, okay, I was thinking this one, and this one, but I forgot about this one here. Okay, that's fine. That's why we have basics. So you go back to basics and you don't miss the important parts. Now, when it comes to all this, I'm going to stress again that you must drink. You must drink water, even if you don't feel the sensation. Now, I'm going to go into some extra parts, but I will say that when it comes to having water in any type of cold situation, it must be up close to you so it doesn't freeze. All right. Now, thankfully, I'm not running over time right now, which is good because this is why it's broken into section. If I went into the next section right now, I'd be going for at least another 10 minutes. And the tube of you that you're probably watching on this, I haven't used any of the others yet. I'm working on it. So if you're seeing this on anything other but that one, then you know this channel's actually gotten a little bigger. And I'm probably doing the happy dance. Regardless, I'm going to go over again. Keep clean. Don't overheat if you can help it. Okay, and I will say when it comes to this This is why a lot of guys, a lot of the older guys that you'll see, like me, when we go out and we know we're going to be doing heavy work, we don't go out. It could be blizzard conditions. We're going out in a t-shirt because we know we're going to overheat incredibly fast. All right, it's especially with the really old guys. This was fairly common. This was so common it was crazy actually. That guys would be chopping wood outside in the winter with no shirt on. It wasn't so they could look tough at all. It was because they were overheating so fast they were going to soak their clothes. And then what? They put on wet clothes to go back out to do whatever the hell they're going to do? Didn't work. So worry about this. Now, these two actually go together. If you dress in loose layers, you'll be warm. But to keep from overheating, that's why you just don't want one big layer. Okay? Having a parka, and I wish I still had it, my grandfather, he had this parka that he used to have from when he worked in the coal mines. That thing was freaking awesome. Unfortunately, with all the moving that my family's done, it's gone. But I love that thing because you could be standing outside in negative 20-degree weather and go, whew, it's warm. That being said, if it had warmed up, my only option was to unzip it, open it all the way up, and expose my body to the cold. Bad, bad, bad idea. All right. You don't want to do it that way. Loose layers. When you take a layer off because you're overheating, shake the snow off if it's got snow on it. Put it somewhere so that it can either dry or it will not get covered in snow again. If it's already in some way wet, do not pack it away. Just leave it out. Alright, just keep that in mind. I'll go into clothing and such in another video. And I don't want this video to run too long, and I'm starting to ramble. But out of everything, just remember, you have to drink water, and you must stay dry. Alright, if you're going to start going out in winter conditions to ski, snowboard, whatever the hell you're going to do, I know a lot of people are starting to get into winter camping, which is awesome, by the way. I've actually stumbled across a bunch of people doing that, and they're usually really nice folks. So, I wish you all the best out there, but for right now, this is your crazy uncle. I'm out.